probably required by law, but if it isn't, it should be, because as professional staff, it does require a lot of support, and it requires boots on the ground to get the job done. I always say, these are the children that we have. These are the children that live in Jasper ISD. I live in West Orange Cove. We have very similar issues there, and these are the children that are going to come through our doors every day, and my commitment should be to them that we're going to teach them where they are, bring them up. So, but I do appreciate the concern, and you having looked through this particular plan. I think at this time it's probably Mr. Hildebrand requires a vote.
So you want to make a recommendation?
Yes. The targeted improvement plan for Jasper ISD is required due to the campuses, or to the district's 2018 state accountability rating for Domain 2 with a score of F in student progress. The process of developing the targeted improvement plan follows the protocol set forth by the Texas Education Agency of continuous improvement for the district. The district plan will be maintained locally and will submit to TEA upon their request. So we retain that locally. And we cited the education code piece there, 39.101. So the administration does recommend that the board approve the district targeted improvement plan. That may have been someone else's piece.
No, you're good. Thank you. There is a recommendation that the board approve the targeted improvement plan for Jasper ISD if required. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion by Dr. Van Kamak, a second by Mr. Stephen Martinez. Any discussion? Any additional discussion? If none, all in favor of the motion, show of right hand. All opposed, like sign. The motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much. Our next action item will be to consider and if appropriate approve the targeted improvement plan for Cornell. Ms. Stevenson?
Well, as you know, Cornell was improvement required for the second year, so we say that we are a second year improvement required campus. Therefore, we are required to construct a targeted improvement plan and to submit that plan to the Texas Education Agency and be subject per their approval and have the board's approval. So this plan will be submitted tonight, as a matter of fact, or early in the morning. And we'll submit it through the secure site at the Texas Education Agency, or as a matter of fact, I will submit it. And it will be reviewed, and we will have some telephone calls with a specialist at the agency that's been assigned to us. And with this particular plan, what we did was, once again, we looked at those areas that we performed poorly in, as we did last year. We looked at those areas, and then we determined how we can maximize the accountability system. It's a new accountability system, so it catches us with our tongue hanging out, but I think we've got a pretty good grasp of where we need to go with formulating a plan that will work for the campus. So if you look at the problem statement, and this one I might add, is I don't think you can go into a district in Texas and not address this particular goal. Grade 4 writing, grade 7 writing for students is very difficult. Writing for students in Texas and probably across the nation is very difficult. We just don't get enough practice writing, and that's what that Collins writing program is about. It's about writing across the curriculums. The research shows us that if a student is able to articulate in writing that they understand the concept that they've just learned, then we know that they've got a sense of mastery. And, it may be that it's at a lower level of mastery, but as we progress along, we can check. So that's what the Collins writing in a nutshell is about. It's about in math, it's about in science, it's in social studies, being able to, for students to be able to articulate what it is that they've learned. So we looked at our passing percentage in grade 4 writing, which was actually at 39%. And it was improved from the year before. So we looked at that, and for the all-student group, and there are many other groups that figure into that, but just looking at the all-student group, our goal is to improve that percentage to 50%. So that's the problem statement. It says backwards of what I just stated to you, that our passing percentage was at 39%. So we basically could say that 61% of the students in the all-student group did not meet the passing standard of approaches. Approaches is just the very minimal level for passing on STAR and EOC. So with that, our big strategy then is to adopt that Collins Writing Program campus-wide. And we're currently doing it, and like I said, the feedback that we've gotten thus far and that I'm hearing and seeing on the campus at Cornell is that we are beginning to really incorporate that program, and the teachers like it. It's something that they can understand and that they can do, and where youngsters will get that frequent, meaningful practice of writing. And, you know, I know for probably, if we were to take this room and divide it in half right now, there's probably half of us that write pretty well, and the other half that we struggle with really being able to put what we're thinking on paper and be able to articulate that. So I always say, okay, that's kind of how the general population is, but then to back out of it and to be able to teach it is a whole nother story. I write well, but I can't teach it to anybody. It just comes in my head. That's it. That's, you know, and I kind of be in the right frame of mind. I'm sure I'm like anybody else. I could always polish up and get better at it. But, you know, we look at the root cause, and that's the thing that I'm talking about right now, is really just a lack of a consistent writing curriculum. We try many things, and we're continuing to try many things. I see it is just such a struggle in all of our districts to address a school-wide writing strategy that addresses those foundational writing skills and have those daily practice. I'm very confident that with daily practice, that youngsters have to get better at writing. And, you know, many times I think it's one of those things that if we're not comfortable with it, we shy away from it. And writing tends to be one of those things. So, in looking at the activities for writing, primarily the Collins Writing Training took place in early August or mid-August when we were doing the in-service. And then establishing what we call in the Collins Writing, it's a pretty neat concept where we establish focused correction areas. So just a tidbit of information about it. In math, we're not really concerned about the math teacher really getting, you know, flowing, eloquent writing, but it may be that she's going to concentrate more on 2 or 3 areas. The content. Did the student understand, say, if students are learning to turn decimals into percent, you know, did the student capture the concept of turning fractions into percent or decimals into percent? And so if this youngster can articulate that, then some of the focus correction areas might be very minimal, just 2 or 3 of those areas that you want to be able to see in that writing. Then we'll let the writing teachers actually focus on the punctuation, the beginning the sentence with a capital letter, those kinds of things. So those are focused correction areas, and we'll continue to work on those currently in the grade levels and specifically in grade 4. We've designed a master schedule there, and I would say Mr. Davis and his staff designed a master schedule there where we have 90 minutes of instruction time in writing for grade 4, and looking at establishing goals for the implementation of that Collins Writing Program, making sure that we monitor the implementation of that writing program, and building it into intervention in those think tanks, which again are, really think tanks are just a buzzword for looking at small group instruction. And you know, we always say our kindergarten teachers, pre-K and kindergarten teachers are really best at that because that's what they've always done. They have stations with youngsters and they move them from station to station. But the research shows us that it works with all grade levels, and you'll see a lot more small group instruction even in high school. We have to work a little harder with the more tenured teachers because, you know, I taught in the day when we lined them up in rows and kind of wanted things that way, but it's more student-centered now. And we find that, you know, just the whole technology world, students are better at teaching themselves. They retain the knowledge. And you know, we'll work up to the point of we'll have those grade 4 students actually come up with some mock essays so that we can get those graded by outside graders and with some feedback and also pulling some random samples from time to time. And then, of course, there is the evaluation piece of the, there needs to be a continual evaluation piece of the whole program implementation of Collins writing. And so that was the first goal. And the second goal is about moving our youngsters to, along the continuum in the STAR EOC mastery level process. We said a minute ago, or I said a minute ago, that approaches is the minimal level for passing, very minimal. It's approaching grade level, but it is a passing standard. However, we want more of our youth students at meets and at masters being that old commended level that you may remember from the older systems. But what we found is that in grade 4 and 5, while we had double digits in, I think in both of those, yes, we were at 25% for meets at the campus for all students, 10% for masters. We want to increase that, and we set a realistic goal of increasing it by 10% in all tested subjects on STAR. And really, that's a goal district-wide. You'll hear talked about in all the PLCs right now. I can't think of one in Texas that wouldn't be talking about moving our kids to meets and masters, and that's just growing every youngster. And so in order to do that, basically we have to look at our strategies being our Tier 1 instruction, that's the instruction that we have with all students. And looking at how we modify and adjust with the Tier 1 instruction and, you know, using best practices, building in that instructional rigor, because those essential knowledge and skills statements, they are rigorous. And if we teach to the construct of those, then we do have to continue to do a more efficient job of teaching the instructional rigor. And so the activities, there are many. There are many overlapping from the district ones that you saw there. And so I'll let you just, if you haven't already had a chance to look at those. Again, that progress monitoring piece is big. We have to know how we're doing in the middle of the year versus the beginning of the year. And we're already, 7 weeks into the school year or so. And so it's very important.
How does this compare to the prior year as far as, you know, we were needing improvement then? Are we still needing improvement in the same areas?
Writing for sure. Yes, I would say very much so. I don't have the other plans sitting in front of me, but I did when we were working on this. It was still about growing every student. The thing that I say about when we move a campus from a first year improvement required to second year improvement required, I have not been on a campus in the last 8 years when we were IR that we didn't have growth. But what happens is the campus would get so far behind. I think you had 5 principals in 6 years, something like that, 6 principals in 5 years. And so we got so far behind that our tongues were hanging out trying to get caught up last year, and we just weren't able to hit all of the standards all together in the right, in the right configuration to master this brand new system. And so, while very disappointing, it also has to be looked at as an opportunity to continue to do well and to hold our feet to the fire, not get too comfortable because we're not there yet. So it does look very similar. Because, understanding the accountability system, it wasn't new to me last year, knowing that it was going to be rolled out this year. I knew the nuances of it and knew those things.
What was this campus score? This was an F, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Overall, it was a 51 and a 60 would have been what we would have needed just overall. Where we saw, and in every single area was almost identical at Parnell. In addition to, Parnell has a federal designation that's called, you might remember we used to talk about the priority schools and focus schools and the old adequate yearly progress. Because we received title funding, then we also have to meet some certain standards there. And so the two systems are not identical, but in the closing the gaps in the third domain, we are able to pull the data for the title requirements or the ESSA requirements, in that we are now considered a comprehensive school which is based on many different factors within Domain 3. And the nice thing about being comprehensive and being our at the same time is that there are going to be additional monies available to, I think they're working on that grant. It's a part of the title grant. And what are you, 125 or 150,000? $125,000 for the campus that looks at strictly those activities that are to help support school improvement there. And
let me ask you, this is, when I looked at the, the overall improvement to the point of, this one was seeing, we have a student in here, where the other one was more kind of teacher, with training and things. So, looking at, we're 6 weeks in, this may be a question for John and Mr. Davis, is do we have a counselor at Cornell yet? Because I think that counselor is a big driving part to your students. So have we hired a counselor there yet?
We have not hired a counselor yet.
So, to me, this is going to be a vocal point in helping us meet that standard, because kids not only are in the classroom, they also need assistance from that.
What's the status on that? Because at our last meeting, they said that they thought they did have someone.
She didn't accept the job, so it's still an open position. We'll interview as they come in.
We're off point there.
No, because I'm asking the counselor there because that's
That's a legitimate question to delve into hiring and not hiring. It's off point.
So that was just mine, I think, and I'm not trying to shoot the messenger here, because I know this
appreciate it, Mr.
is
Sabrina.
really good. But I'm just thinking, I look at 2 of our counselors out there now, and I know the instrumental part they play in the students. So when we're so low on that is a key position for us. That's why.
You want to make a recommendation?
I'm good. So the targeted improvement plan for Parnell Elementary is required due to the campus's 2018 state accountability rating of improvement required. The targeted improvement plan focuses on those indicators missed in the state accountability system. The process of developing the plan follows a protocol set forth by the Texas Education Agency of continuous improvement for campuses. An additional requirement is that the campuses must solicit input on the plan from parents at a meeting held at the campus. And that was done last week on Wednesday afternoon, October 3rd. I was there for that meeting. We had it was a good turnout. There, I don't know, maybe 10 parents or so, maybe not. Well, there were a few students that actually came, but it was very, very good. And I wish more of the parents had actually been there. And so, we can do that again during the year. And the school improvement requirements, again, are governed by the Texas Education Code 39.101. And this plan will be submitted to the agency per the board's approval either late tonight or early in the morning. October 9th requirement.
Would you like to make that recommendation?
And the administration does recommend that the board approve the Parnell targeted improvement plan as presented.
Thank you. We have a recommendation to approve the targeted improvement plan for Parnell Elementary as required by the 2018 state accountability rating of improvement required. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Well, I'll leave off. Yeah, Mr. Webb. Mr. Green. Made the motion, Mr. Moran seconded. We've had discussion and questions. All in favor of the motion, show of right hand. All opposed, like sign. It carries 7-0. Thank you very much, Ms. Stevenson. Thank you for all your help. Our next and final action item will be to consider and if appropriate approve District of Innovation Resolution. Ms. Williams.
Good evening. House Bill 1842, the 84th legislative session, allows Texas districts to qualify as a district of innovation. Districts of innovation are afforded greater flexibility and increased local control of identified operations under the authority of the Texas Education Agency. The District-wide Educational Improvement Council, DEIC, committee met on Monday, October 1st, 2018, and reviewed the District of Innovation information from the Texas Education Agency that was presented. The district-level committee submits this petition to the Board of Trustees for the expressed purpose of requesting a public hearing to engage the educational stakeholders and the community to discuss Jasper ISD's development of a plan of innovation. The administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the attached resolution concerning the process to begin exploring the District of Innovation in Jasper ISD.
We have a recommendation from the administration to approve the resolution regarding the process to begin exploring the District of Innovation in Jasper ISD. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. I know we have a second by Mr. Stephen Martinez.
Mr. Cabinet.
Dr. Van Cave, motion. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If none, all in favor, show of right hand. All opposed, like sign. The motion carries 4-3. Thank you
Didn't have
very
to have
much.
a.
Yeah, no, it
two-thirds
doesn't.
vote.
It has to have 2/3, which means 5 out of
No,
6.
Not for the
not
resolution.
resolution. Simple majority.
For the passing of the plan is 2/3
The
majority.
majority is for the committee.
Yeah,
The
two-thirds.
board is 2/3.
That's correct,
Right.
for the plan, if you're voting on the plan. Voting on passing a resolution
We're voting
is only
on-
majority vote.
Well, let's see. As our understanding is, it is 2/3.
Ms. Wells?
The resolution is in your packet, and it reads that this is a consideration of the designation as a District of Innovation may be initiated by this resolution. So this is just initiating that you're going to move forward with creating a committee and developing a plan, and then the plan has to be voted on with a,
And it begins the
Majority.
process, which we've already voted against more than once. This has been brought up, and here we are again.
No, we've only voted against it once.
Table one, vote.
Yes. And we voted against it simply to give it a year to see how other
And no
districts.
new information was brought to us at our last meeting when it came up, at all.
Well, I'll share my information. I've reached out to a lot of the districts that have become recognized as a DOI. Last weekend at TASB, I heard and visited with probably another, in total, with my direct contacts and then at TASB, probably 60 districts out of the 790 that are DOIs. Every district very much in favor of it, the entire district, communities are supportive of it. The only negative that came of any conversations was one district said they got a little overzealous and they started their school year too early. So that was the only downside that came from any district.
In my research, I also heard negatives concerning it takes away the actual TEA rights and regulations and rules that are in place and set by the state of Texas for protection of staff in a district. And it does take away those rights, and it replaces some of them with other things. But you're taking away, like their basic contract that we have now, it changes them.
That's only if you put it in the
It's
plan.
only to put in the plan.
We don't have to.
Well, my
But your
question
plan from the
is-
beginning can be changed at any given time by that committee.
With another 2/3
Vote
vote.
another 2/3
It would take another board vote to change the plan.
Well, the information that he gives the board meeting, and I'm gonna talk about it when we get to the financial side, is wherever, I mean, even the votes that we're getting, there's still being things that are being done, even when when there are no votes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I will say-
Yeah.
Say that again, Mark.
The reason because even at the plan, even on votes, things that we have voted against on such as adding positions and budgeting those positions, or told that those positions are not budgeted in there. When we get this salary thing that I will discuss during the financials, those positions are in here. And so I cannot trust on the information I'm getting. So that is why I am voting against the deal.
I will get back to the DOI, and
And
to
that's why I'm voting
Stephanie's
against it.
point, I understand, Mr. Grant, I have the floor. To your point, Stephanie, I have read several articles that spoke negatively too, but when you read them, the authors of those articles were wrong. The individuals who wrote, for example, they talked about a school district doing one thing, when in fact, if you look at any publication regarding DOI, it specifically says you can't do that. So some of these districts are speaking about things, people are speaking and saying their district made a part of their plan to include something that you're not allowed to include. So I haven't read, or, I haven't, outside of that scope, like I said, I've had direct conversations and visits and dialogue with representatives from about 60 different districts. And no one could give me a reason not to do it.
Well, I haven't talked to 60 different districts, but I have spoken to some districts.
Yeah.
And the one thing every one of them have repeatedly said, in order to go to District of Innovation, your board better have 100% trust in its administration. And for various reasons,
Sure.
that trust isn't here with this board. The enterprise contract, we can say the budgeted positions, there's been numerous things that's been brought before this board that after a vote was taken, things ended up coming back to us in a different format than what we voted on. It's difficult to trust when you believe you're being presented something. And an example is director of operations position. When that was all discussed and assistant superintendent and all that, that's where we are. Or some of it.
There was a district meeting with mainly teachers last week, and the vast majority of the teachers are for this. They see the advantages of it. They talk to other teachers in other districts, and shaking their head in the audience. And it gives us an advantage. It levels the playing field.
And we understand there are some real advantages.
From an HR standpoint, we lost teachers this summer because we couldn't offer the positions that other districts, neighboring districts offered them. We lost teachers this summer, and we couldn't hire teachers this summer because our drop dead date was later because of the start date. They're working 187 days. Our kids are only going to school 162 days now. But teachers are still required to go 187. So they're doing all these work days before, these work days during the school year, which some of them are great, but a lot of them are overkill, some of them. And DOI allows you to cut that contract to 182.
Most districts don't
without
do that.
without giving a pay decrease, so they're getting a daily rate raise.
But it also allows
Which is a
for
perk to get teachers.
larger classrooms, which are not.
If that's part of your plan.
beneficial to the children.
If
But
it's part
there
of-
again, the plan we passed.
We didn't pass a plan.
We haven't had-
I
it was-
The plan could
understand
have
that.
two
That's what we're
things. It could
speaking.
That's up to
Our
committee, that's up to the
start
committee
date,
that you guys pick, or.
reduction in
however.
employees.
They're
You have
the
two
ones that
things.
need to make the plan.
This is the teachers and the staff's plan, it's not the board's plan.
And can be changed at any.
It can be changed by that committee and by that staff only, not us.
Some, our teachers, which we have been here for our teachers, but our teachers do not always represent our students and parents either. We are here to represent everyone,
Yes.
not just our teachers.
You're exactly correct, you're exactly correct. This is the DEIC committee that I'm aware of is composed of teachers, community members that are not teachers, parents. Can you give me a list, Stephanie? Stacy?
There's 15 teachers, 3 librarians, 2 parents, 1 business, and 2 community members.
So these people here are engaged in just the DEIC committee. So to say that the community is not being represented is a wrong statement.
I didn't say
This
that.
is their plan.
I did not say the community was not being represented.
Okay, maybe I misspoke, but that's what I heard. This is their plan. Whatever they put together, if they want to put together and say, hey, look, I want a 5-day earlier start date, and that's the only dadgum thing that's in that plan, that's the only thing we vote on. They're the ones that have to change it, if they elect to change it. Now, what the board can do, the board can say, okay, we'll approve that, but we want to take a look at it in exactly 1 year and revisit it and see if it's working. See if there's any problems with it. If we want to review it 6 months down the road.
So those 15 people that you're speaking of represent all the teachers in our district?
No, ma'am, that's just that DEIC committee. So there's got to be another committee that's formed for this. I personally have several teachers that I would like to see on there. I'm not going to name them by name, but that oppose this plan, that I think should be on this.
Well, that would be interesting.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're very supportive of it.
Absolutely, I am very supportive of it.
Non-supportive teacher.
I'm very supportive of our teachers and staff. And if I'm not mistaken, it was actually June of 2017, when we brought this, when it was presented by the administration, and you're the ones that asked for it to be postponed, or you voted no on it, because you wanted to wait a year.
Till we got more information, but no one's brought us more information.
Well, you're not-
You're not gonna.
Lynn just shared some hearsay with us, but
That's
there's
not
no
hearsay.
documented
That's not
information brought to us.
But here's the bottom line,
That's
and I said this before we
We got the
voted
same
it down
presentation we
before.
got last year.
I have before we do it.
Go ahead.
Before we voted no last time, I said you'll never be able to compare apples to apples.
Did
Because
our
every
scores
district
change any?
is-
Was our scores
Every
better or
district has
worse?
a different plan. Every district has a different plan, different components of that plan. The only common denominator in probably 98% of the plans is a calendar start date. That's
What
the only
district,
thing.
with District of Innovation last year, had a better score than we had? Isn't that what our goal is to
I didn't-
improve
I mean,
our
I'm sure
score?
there's 66% of the schools in Texas, is it
No, it's
66?
not our own goal, but it's.
73%.
66 in Region 5, 73 in Texas,
Yes.
so I mean, I'm sure I'm sure there's one, some worse, some better.
700 and some odd schools out of 1,200 districts.
But
Well,
our,
that may be the only thing they put in that plan. It still changes the laws.
Yes, what it does is it takes big government control and brings it back
Well,
local.
sometimes big government control might be needed when we've got a district that's been in controversy for this many years, with this many things that happen and come to this board, and all of a sudden we're slapped with, what is this?
Yes.
Because
They own it.
somebody, a few people knew and didn't even tell the rest of the board. We vote yes on something, and all of a sudden, what?
They own it.
And you want us to trust somebody other than, I feel very strongly that we still need somebody looking out after this, meaning big government, the state of Texas, until there is a stability here and a trust here that we can actually feel good about the people that are going to be ultimately the ones that are running the show, instead of Texas, instead of the state of Texas. And I don't feel good about it yet.
At the end of the day, why would we shut down an opportunity for the district and community to be able to look into something that could be possibly beneficial and positive for our
Because
district?
that's what happened
No, but hold
last
on,
time.
hold on. Why would we do that? I mean, we've tried different things in the past, since I've been on this board, or before I got on the board, and hey, it's not working. Now we have an opportunity to look into something. And why would we, at the end of the day, it's still gonna come back to the board, it's gonna come to a vote. If it's something that is not beneficial, then it would be voted, everybody would vote their way, but why would we not give at least the opportunity to look into it? We're not
because
voting
at the
anything.
end of the day, it turns out just like last year.
This is a committee,
In order
but
to
it's gonna be a
begin it,
committee.
it's
gonna be a
beginning
committee.
the
It's gonna be a committee
process.
that's not us. It's gonna be a committee of community members, educators, that they're gonna put their input, their opinion into it. that has nothing to do with this.
But it's not looking into it, it's beginning the process. There's a difference.
Right, we're looking
Looking
into-
into something and beginning a process.
But that's what.
And the process is a tiered.
That's what it entails.
It's a tiered process, and we may not get through this.
I tell you what, I wish y'all would go to the training. Y'all have not been to a convention. I wish y'all would go March
I go-
into one.
I go to a lot of
wish-
training.
I understand, but to where you can
Stephen
sit
and I went
down.
one this summer, we've been
We've
able to.
all had our
Here's-
training
here's,
hours,
here's-
but the bottom line is, we made a vote, and we asked for a determination on the documentation that it's majority, not two-thirds. Because my understanding, and what she just shared, her understanding, is it's two-thirds majority.
For the plan.
For plan approval.
Show us, please.
Here, right here it says, Board of Trustees.
Not
approves
Jasper.
for the
This is
plan.
I
Jasper's.
want state of
That's,
Texas.
it's where it came from.
Well, the burden of proof would fall on you guys, and at that point, if you're saying that it's supposed to be that, the burden of proof would fall on you guys showing us, hey, it's supposed to be two-thirds.
I had the same
Well,
question.
TEA does have their website, and it does plainly say two-thirds, but
For the
since the
plan.
committee.
It really does, for the
The
plan.
committee is the majority, and the board is two-thirds.
Setting up
For the plan.
The resolution is a simple majority, and it says that in there. And then we have to have a public hearing, which we have to have within 30 days, and then the board would select a committee.
Can you provide us a copy of that? That's all I ask for. Thank you.
It was also on the TEA PowerPoint that was presented.
This doesn't say, it says a resolution adopted by the board of trustees.
Which,
And that's what you just.
which requires a simple majority.
It does not say that.
It's never gonna say simple
It
majority.
says on TEA's
The only-
website, two-thirds majority.
For the plan.
This says the process begins either with a Board of Trustees resolution or by a signed petition from the majority of the district level advisory committee. That just begins
or.
the process.
Yep,
Which they have petitioned the board.
there we have it.
Well, they don't have to petition the board. They can do it
Again,
both
Very
ways.
then this
next thing.
page says, we have a plan, now what?
But wait, go back to the page you were just on. The next bullet point says two-thirds majority on TEA's side.
Did I
This-
just read? It says,
this-
the board conducts a public hearing to consider developing an innovation
Now,
plan.
read the next.
Within 30 days of public hearing, board must formally
that's
decide to pursue or decline the opportunity. And then it goes on, we are moving forward. And then, this is after you have a plan. And once you have a plan, so once the committee, the innovative committee that you've selected brings the plan, that's where Board of Trustees adopted with two-thirds majority vote.
Now here on TASB, it says the board cannot approve a plan until the final plan has been posted for 30 days. The commissioner's been notified and the DAC has held the public meeting to consider the final plan. And the DAC has approved the plan by majority vote.
Okay, well, that's,
Then it says, as practice, the district should notify TEA of the proposed plan at the same time as the plan will be posted on the website. Although the statute indicates that the Board of Trustees will notify TEA of the proposed plan, the board may delegate to the superintendent or administrative functions
but that's all
of
after
posting,
the process.
hang on just a second, please,
begins.
of posting a proposed plan, transmitting the plan to TEA. The public hearing and vote on the district advisory council may occur at the same meeting. Then the Board of Trustees may vote to approve the plan. The vote must be a two-thirds majority vote for the plan. That's,
That's all after the process begins.
yes.
Can we agree that John can get some kind of statement or documentation from TEA, what this vote, majority or two-thirds?
Yeah, we'll find out, we'll get in writing.
Because we are challenging
What it takes for
that,
resolution.
and if it's majority, so be it. If it's two-thirds, so be that too. before we determine whether this is passed or not passed.
So,
Well, as far as the record's gonna reflect, it's gonna show passed.
And it's passed, but if it wasn't passed.
It will be
Then
rescinded.
we rescind it if not, that's correct.
Agreed.
all right, moving on, we're through with action items. Our next item will be a board announcements. There's no for superintendent report, no board president's report. Any trustee have anything to report? If not, then we will go into individual reports. Our first will be campus report from Parnell. Mr. Davis.
Good evening, William Davis from Parnell Elementary. So we still have our motto where it's a great day to be a Bulldog. So where are we? I have a couple pictures of some students working, some of the teachers doing some of their work. So we have one picture of Ms. McKnight teaching away. So during the first 6 weeks, students worked hard to learn decimal place value and multiplication and division of whole numbers. We had some students at work in Ms. Faulkner's classroom. She does ELA in 4th grade. They were writing complete sentences on their desk, so she took some type of I don't know what the material is. It's erasable, kind of like dry erase, and they get to write on the desk. Kids love that. It's hands-on, makes it more engaging and more exciting for the students. And then a college writing professional development. The teachers got to participate in creating a live paragraph doing their college writing workshop. So that kind of piggybacks on what Ms. Stevenson was talking about, and I know she talked about us writing across the curriculum. So when we had our PLCs today, it was funny to hear my 4th grade math team say the kids can't capitalize. They don't capitalize the beginning of a sentence. Last year they would have never thought about that. And so as they've made a commitment to write within their classes and to do what we call a type 2 writing, which is putting their thoughts on paper, doing complete sentences and things like that, they're starting to understand how we have to work as a team to make sure all the kids are writing. And so that was just one of their comments, was they just don't write with the capitalization. So 2018-19 accountability rating, we were improvement required, but we did show some significant growth in 5th grade math at 15 points, 4th grade reading 10 points, and 5th grade science 6 points. And we showed a slight growth in 5th grade reading of 3 points and 4th grade math of 1 point. Teachers have been receiving training on think tanks to help maximize our Bulldog, which is our intervention time. They actually had another training today. They built samples and took it to Dr. Holcomb, who came in, and we were able to ask her questions, look at their resources, and make sure we're on the right path and doing what we have to do for our kids. As we try to get better faster, teachers will begin working on writing exemplars and monitoring aggressively. So the exemplars is what do we want our student work to look like. So it's, a lot of times as teachers we do an answer key. And so we might write down just the answer, but if we are expecting our students to go through steps, then we ahead of time go through those steps so we know what we're looking for. And we know as we're walking around aggressively looking at our student work, they're giving us what we need. And then we're able to give them real-time feedback, pull them if we need to pull them, have small group if we need to have small group, or reteach if we need to reteach. We recently completed the BOY math testing for math, reading, science, and language usage, and we're starting to work our intervention groups. So what do we want to be? Looking at the board goals that were created, we created our own goals. And so you'll notice that the majority of them are the same. We want to see 80% in reading and math. All of our students with a special emphasis on African American and special education students meet their expected growth in math. We want 70% of our students in science with special emphasis on African American and special education students to meet their expected math growth. And then writing for 70%. With special emphasis on African American and special education students to increase their writing proficiency using the college writing in all subject areas. So, with our STAR, that's once a year, but with our math, that's 3 times a year. And so to hear the teachers talk about it, they love to see, well, here's where a kid came to me at, here's where they're at in the middle of the year, and then here's how much they grew at the end of the year. And that's something that we can track throughout the year to make sure that our interventions are doing what they're supposed to be doing as we progress monitoring. And so how do we get there? Sound instructional practices, so Get Better Faster is a training that us as administrators are going through, and we're taking it back to the teachers. So some of the things that we're working on is developing effective lesson plans 101, creating the exemplar, and then aggressive monitoring. We're continuing our professional learning communities and still creating the common assessments, examining common assessments, and then looking at Atlas, which is our data, And another piece we've started looking at over at Parnell is lesson cycles. We created a teaching lab on campus. The parents at the meeting the other day got to see that as well. And so it's a space where teachers can go get better at their craft. Instead of like the classroom, to mimic the classroom, and so they can go in there and, you know, if they want to practice, if they want to record themselves and look at it later, get feedback from myself, Ms. Carter, the assistant principal, or like a mentor teacher or somebody in the department that can. So, yeah, we're just, our big thing, our big motto this year is be intentional. Be intentional in what we're doing.
Very good. Thanks,
That's all I have.
David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Our next report will be resignations. Mr. Stumble?
Attached are the resignations listed for your information. Carolyn Hatch, third grade teacher at Q Primary. Carrie Weaver, computer technician for the Department of Technology Nurses, effective October 12th.
Next report will be calendar presentations. Ms. Woolen?
In front of you is a Board of Trustees calendar created by Mr. Hale at the high school. And it includes the district goals, mission and vision, of course, and the board goals that were created. And it also has been updated with the status of the 17-18 data. We will be reporting quarterly, November, February, April, and June, and we listed a few things that we hope to bring to you at that time. And it's not limited to, so we may add some information. As you look through the calendar, you'll see it's color-coded based on the district calendar. So the green days are staff days, the purple are holidays, early release are yellow, so it corresponds to your full district calendar. And the calendar, of course, is on one side, and then a kind of a roadmap of what we're going to be going over agenda items at the board meeting. It's not limited to, of course, it's general information for purposes to just guide us, and that's why at the bottom of those pages, the information is general.